ክብራትና ክብራን የቻናላችን ተከታታዮች ፊልሙን ለመስራት ከፍተኛ ወጪ እንዳወጣንበት ከስራው መረዳት ትችላላችሁ። በመሆኑም ሁሉንም ፊልም በተከታታይ እንድናደርሳችሁ ሰብስክራይብ በማድረግ የደወል ምልክቱን በመጫን ወጫችንን መሸፈን እንድንችል አግዙን። እናመሰግናለን። በውጭ ሀገር የምትገኙ ኢትዮጵያውያን ልጆቻችሁ አማርኛ ቋንቋ በደንብ መጠቀም እንዲችሉ ፊልሙን ተጠቀሙበት። አስኳላ ልጆን በቤቱ የሚያስተምሩበት ማስጠኛ ፊልም።
Hello students, do you remember what we have discussed last time? So, did you read the passage? Did you do the questions with your parents? Very nice. Okay, if you remember last time, the unit that we have started was unit 6. It was about likes and dislikes, how you are going to express your likes. Likes means something that you adore, you love. So, under this unit, we discussed about which season that you like. So here, we have seen the 4 types of seasons. Do you remember the seasons? Very nice. Summer, autumn, spring, and winter. And we have discussed some grammatical structures, like for example, comparison of adjectives. So comparison of adjectives, we have 3 degrees of comparison of adjectives. Do you remember them? Good. Positive degree, comparative degree, and superlative degree. So we have seen how we are going to use these degrees in your sentences or in your speaking. Like for example, when you are comparing 2 equal things, you are going to use positive degree. And when you are comparing 2 unequal things, you are going to use comparative degree. And finally, the superlative degree is used to compare one thing with many others. So we have seen these things, and we have seen also how to form the positive degree, the superlative degree, and the comparative degree with longer adjectives and with shorter adjectives. You remember all this, I hope. So you have done the questions on your textbook. Last time we dealt about up to page 13 or page 12. So we are going to start the new topic today. So here we have on page 30 of your books, there is a passage. It is about football. I hope you like football, students. Very good. So you are going to read this passage with your parents. You can read it alone also. And then on the next page, there are some questions to do. So you are going to do those questions by yourself and try to show to your parents. So today with me, we are going to discuss about some pointers about adverbs. Last time, if you remember, I tried to give you some highlight about adjectives. So it is one of the parts of speech. It is a describing word. So these adjectives describe words. What are these words? These words can be nouns or pronouns. Pronouns. So when you are talking about a word, and if you are giving us some additional information about that word, then you are using adjectives. Like for example, look at this sentence carefully. I have a dress. Here, this is a pronoun, this is a verb, and this is a noun with article. So here we don't have any adjectives. You didn't give us any additional information about the noun here in the sentence. But if you want to give us some additional information about the noun, then you are going to add adjectives, because adjectives are describing words. Describing words. So adjectives can describe colors, shapes, size, numbers, and quality, quality. So these things can be described with adjectives. Like for example, I can make this sentence, I can add another adjective to tell you about additional information about my dress. Like, I have a blue dress. So this blue is an adjective because it gives you what kind of dress I have. So the color of the dress is stated here. The color is adjective. Here we discussed that adjectives can describe colors. It can also describe shapes, sizes, numbers, and quality. For example, if I say I have 2 dresses, then I told you how many dresses I have here. So I am describing the number using adjectives. So this is what, again, last time if you remember, we used adjectives to compare things. So we have seen the 3 degrees of adjectives, how to compare this using adjective, the degrees. So today we are going to see about adverbs. I just want to show you the difference between adverbs and adjectives. So here, adverbs, again it is one of the parts of speech. As you all know, we have 8 parts of speech in English. So these are some of them. So we discussed already adjectives and why we use adjectives in what kind of situations. So adverbs, as the name indicates you, add verbs, something which is added to the verb, which means these words or adjectives describe words or nouns. The only difference here we have is adverbs are describing words, but what do they describe? They describe verbs. They will give us some information about the verb or verbs. So when we say verbs, you remember what verbs means. So there are different kinds of adverbs. Let us discuss some of them. For example, adverbs can be adverbs of manner. This kind of adverbs tell us how the action happened. As you know, verbs means the action in a sentence. The action in a sentence is what we call verbs. So, for example, I walked. This is a sentence. The verb or the action in this sentence is walk. So, how did this action happen? Is it slowly? Is it fast? So, the manner how the action happened is what we call adverbs of manner. I walk quickly, for example. Now, it tells or it answers the question how the action happened. This is the first kind of adverb. The second one is adverb of place. Adverb of place. So this tells us where the action happened. So it tells us, it talks about again about the action, not about the noun or not about other parts of speech. It talks about the action where the action happened. So she is upstairs. So this upstairs tells us where the action or the doer of the action is. So this upstairs is adverbs of place. It answers the questions where. The third one is adverb of time. Adverb of time. This kind of adverbs answers the question when. For example, you can see the first example. I walk quickly. When? I walk quickly to where? Then you can also add your own sentence here. He reads in the morning, in the morning, in the morning. So this tells us when he reads. He always reads almost in the morning. So this is how we are going to use adverbs in a sentence. The last one which we are going to focus today is adverbs of frequency. Adverbs of frequency. So these adverbs of frequency tell us how many times the action happened or how often the action happened. How often the action happened. These adverbs of frequency answers how many times or how repeatedly the action is happening. You can see some words like always, never, sometimes, rarely. You can find those examples in your textbook. You can find it on page 17 of your books. So, how many times you do something, like for example, washing your face. How many times do you wash your face each day? Or how many times do you brush your teeth? So, using these adverbs of frequency, you can state examples. Like for example, I always come to school. This is adverb of frequency. It tells us how many times the action is repeated. So you always come to school means you are almost 100% come to school each week. This is 100%. On your textbook, it gives it a percentile. Like for example, always means 100%. Then usually means it has 80%. If you say I usually come to school means there are times that you are not in school. So it has 80%. Often it is 60%. Sometimes means 20%. Sometimes 40%, rarely 20%, and never means almost 0%. I never come to school means you are always absent, you will not be in school. So adverbs of frequency tell us how an action happened or how often the action is repeated. So this is adverbs of frequency. There are some questions on your textbook, page 18. Page 18. So can you try this with your parents? Okay. Very good, students. Let us do some of them together. Page 18, instruction B. Change the verbs in a bracket to their correct forms. So, before we just directly go to the exercise, let me remind you some things. Do you remember tenses? Tense. There is a tense that you must use when you are using adverbs of frequency. The main tenses, if you remember, the main tenses are present tense, past tense, and future tense. These are the main tenses. Of course, there are so many in between. Like for example, present tense, we have simple present tense, present continuous tense, present perfect tense, and the like. But we want to see only the simple present tense today. Simple present. Simple present. This simple present, if you know, there are two ways that we use this simple present tense. Like when things are repeated action, repeated or habitual action. Habitual action, which means always when we are repeating things again and again. as you remember, we discussed earlier that adverbs of frequency are telling us how often the action happened or how many times the action is repeated. So, having this in your mind, we are going to use only simple present tense always with adverbs of frequency because it tells us habitual action about like a habit of yours. For example, there are habits we always do. So, for these kind of things, if you want to use how many times the action is repeated, you are going to use adverbs of frequency with simple present tense. You remember the form of simple present tense? I hope so. Subject plus verb. But
ክቡራትና ክቡራን የቻናላችን ተከታታዮች ፊልሙን ለመስራት ከፍተኛ ወጪ እንዳወጣንበት ከስራው መረዳት ትችላላችሁ። በመሆኑም ሁሉንም ፊልም በተከታታይ እንድናደርሳችሁ ሰብስክራይብ በማድረግ የደወል ምልክቱን በመጫን ወጫችንን መሸፈን እንድንችል አግዙን። እናመሰግናለን። በውጭ ሀገር የምትገኙ ኢትዮጵያውያን ልጆቻችሁ አማርኛ ቋንቋ በደንብ መጠቀም እንዲችሉ ፊልሙን ተጠቀሙበት። አስኳላ ልጆን በቤቱ የሚያስተምሩበት ማስጠኛ ፊልም